No one that I love can love me back. So this is closely related to this concept of being lovable, um, or feeling worthy of love. And so we're going to discuss these subjects kind of around this. The first time I discovered this phenomena was when I was dating Morena. And you know all about Morena if you already have your copy of the book Mind by Roman Zanoni, available on Amazon. And even though things were going relatively well in the relationship, her anxiety was starting to get higher and higher. And she would tell me that she uh, felt like um, basically like it was too good to be true. And she started to do things to sabotage the relationship. And she started to try to find things that were wrong with me. Uh, I mean, you don't have to look far. I have my flaws. So she would hyper focus on those flaws and those things that were imperfect, and even start to make up kind of her own stories and her own narrative of things that were not necessarily true. And she would accuse me of those things and kind of watch, see how I responded. But ultimately, what was happening to her is her subconscious was fighting against the loving relationship that we were creating. Having a person in her life that she loved that also loved her was increasingly stressful and difficult for her to reconcile because of cognitive distortion. Cognitive distortion is a thought or a way of thinking that's detrimental to us, and that is ultimately probably untrue as well. And so her cognitive distortion, as she told me once in a text message, is I have the subconscious belief that no one that I love could ever truly love me. So with that belief, that means that if she loves someone, then they can't possibly love her back. So the love that they're showing must be either fake and unreal, or they must be actually unlovable themselves, because someone here in this scenario, according to her belief, has to be unlovable. It can't just be all love. So either there's something about me that would mean that I'm not worthy of love, and she's loving the wrong person because I'm loving her, or there has to be it has to be untrue that I actually love her. So when she found herself unable to prove to herself that I am actually not truly loving her, then she had to find a reason to not love me. And so that's why we start hyper focusing on the flaws and sabotaging our way out of the relationship. And she starts to tell negative stories about me to her support group, friends and family, who would hear the twisted kind of negative reports and give the feedback. It sounds like he's not right for you. With that feedback, then she feels bolstered in her subconscious belief that, of course, it's not right. Of course. I thought there was something wrong with this relationship. I thought there was something off, and it's that this person is just not right for me. So that's why I love them, of course. Eventually, this did lead to the demise of the relationship. And so, as she sabotaged her way out of it and devalued me, she eventually found herself unable to continue into the relationship, and she ghosted and disappeared into the night. It is true that narcissists devalue as well, but complex trauma survivors devalue with a different aim. Whereas a narcissist devalues you to convince you that you're inferior, a narcissist will devalue you because they're convinced that they're not worthy. They're convinced that they are inferior. They're convinced that you can't possibly love them if you're a good person. They devalue you for reasons of insecurity and instability, of fear, not because they want to harm you or they want to hurt you. And so there's a lot of reasons why a person may develop an idea that someone who they love can't love them back, or that they're just unworthy of love, or that they're unlovable. Do you have an idea like this? Is there a part of you that feels like, I'm not cool enough to date someone that is young and attractive, or they wouldn't like me the way that I am? or I'm not worthy of being loved because if my mother didn't love me, then how could I be loved by someone else? If my father didn't love me, how could another man love me? Do you have ideas like that? Have you ever thought things like that? If you're one of the people here who has a thought like that, I want you to write down on a piece of paper why you think that is. Why do you think that you're unworthy of love? Like, what would be the justification? What's your evidence? Just go ahead and write down whatever it is, no matter how crazy it is. I'm not going to ask you to tell me, no matter how weird it may sound. What do you think is the reason why you are unlovable, or why someone that you like couldn't like you? What do you think is the reason for that? Go ahead and write that down on a piece of paper and save that, because we're going to take a look at that, and we're going to do a little exercise together at the end of this talk. And so, what are you discovering for yourself? Is it that you had an abusive person in your life that maybe tried to tell you that you're not lovable? Did you have an abusive person in your life that maybe tried to tear you down, to cut you down, to make you feel not good enough, not worthy? Did you have a verbal abuser in your life that tried to undermine your own self respect, your own self worth? Did you have someone in your life that you loved that didn't love you? Did you have a mother or a father that was inconsistent in their show of love for you? What was it that made you feel like someone that you love can't love you back? What was it that made you feel like you're not worthy of love? Do you have a fear of abandonment? When a person has a fear of abandonment, which comes from their trauma, that can make them feel hesitant to emotionally invest in someone out of fear that they'll be rejected. So now they have attachment issues. This can cause them to become avoidant or to fall in love with persons who are emotionally unavailable. I repeat, if you have a fear of abandonment, it can cause you to become avoidant or to fall in love with a person who is emotionally unavailable or unavailable otherwise. In other words, you're falling for all the wrong guys or gals. Why? Because those are the ones you're most attracted to. Why? Because they don't love you. That's why you like them. You find yourself being attracted to men or women that don't love you. It's like, oh, perfect. They don't like me. That's the one. Oh, I've never felt feelings this strong for someone before. The reason why you're attracted to someone who's unavailable because they're in a marriage, or because they're in jail, or because they don't have the emotional bandwidth to love you or other people, or because they're a narcissist. The reason why you find yourself hopelessly attracted to that is because you're replaying your emotional trauma from childhood, when you had a mom or dad that should have loved you but didn't. It should have made you feel safe but didn't. That should have been there for you, that should have been available, that shouldn't have abandoned you, but they didn't. They were gone. They abandoned you. They were busy. They were preoccupied. As a result, what do you find yourself doing? Chasing after unavailable people because you don't feel loved. If you have a low sense of self-worth, low self-worth will cause you to continue to chase people who don't value you, right? It just makes sense. Why would you chase someone that values you when you can get someone that sees you as you really are? Trash. That's how you feel about yourself. You feel like you're not worthy. And if you feel like you're not worthy, then you go for someone who feels the same way about you. I repeat, you feel like you're not worthy. So if you feel like you're not worthy, then you're going to go for someone who feels that same way about you, like you're not worthy. And they treat you like that. And they act towards you like you're not worthy. So there's a piece of you that almost craves it, that feels most safe in a situation where someone treats you like you're not worthy. So tell the truth. Are you attracted to men who make you feel like you're not worthy? Do you have the subconscious goal of playing out a scenario where you are less than? If you had traumatic experiences in your childhood, it can shape your core beliefs and foster thoughts of being unlovable, unworthy. When we go through trauma, we have to either fight or go into flight, or we freeze or we fawn in order to get through it. What fawn response is okay, 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 I'll take on the loss, I'll take on the burden, so you'll be good and you'll win. And so I can survive, right? That's fawn response. So when you were in childhood, if you adopted a mindset, my father doesn't love me, so that must mean I'm the problem. That's fawn response. My mother doesn't love me, so that must mean I need to work harder to get her love. My mother never gives me approval, so I must work harder to get her approval. That's fawn response. That's you trying to figure out how to survive a situation that's so intense that your childhood brain sees it as trauma and needs a way to get what it needed. As a child, you needed love from your parents. And so you go, oh, okay, I'll just fawn my way through this, which is let me just lose, let me just lose. So you're actually internalizing the mistreatment of others. So you're saying, okay, if you treat me bad, then I am bad. If you treat me worthless, then I am worthless. I must be. And so I just got to work hard. And so now you learned to not love yourself, to base your worth on how someone else treats you. And then we repeat it in our life. If we continue to be with abusers, we keep the same pattern going. We say, well, if they're abusing me, if they're treating me as worthless, if they're getting mad at me, if they're tearing me down, it's my fault. If they got angry at me, it's because I didn't do enough to keep them calm. It's because I didn't use the right words. It's because I got upset. That's why we got in a fight. That's why he hit me. That's why he started choking me. That's why I started pounding my head against the wall. It wouldn't have happened if I would have just been more chill. It's fun response. It was our way of surviving as children. It was our way of surviving as teenagers. And so we're using it now, hoping that it's going to get us through. But really, we're attached to someone who is emotionally unavailable. Narcissist, psychopath, sociopath. If you have trust issues from past betrayals, breaches of your trust during traumatic events, it makes it more challenging to trust others. So in your distrust for other people, you have to have a coping mechanism. And so avoidance is one of the coping mechanisms of betrayal around trust, of trauma around trust. So you say, well, I don't feel like I can really trust anyone. So that's why I'm just going to fall in love with this guy who lives in another country because he can't get here and I can't get there. And that's perfect. That's perfect because now it's like safe, right? So you're going after someone again who's unavailable because you have trust issues. Oh, he's in jail, so he can't cheat on me. That works. So I'm going to fall in love with him and we're going to have a relationship because you have trust issues. And you go around with the idea like, well, I can't trust anyone. I don't trust anyone. What we're doing is we're trying to find a way to keep ourselves safe. So we just kind of created a blanket idea. No men can be trusted. That's men. They all are time wasters and they're all abusers. And you just put that right there. Oh, now I'm safe. Whew. Now I can hide behind this wall that I created of all men are abusers. Whew. Or all women are liars. All women are liars. You create this wall. Okay, they're all liars. Good. Now I know. Now I feel safe. Now I feel safe, right? So we create these ideas that are distortions, which is generalization, right? Extreme thinking. And so we generalize entire groups of people and we think, well, maybe that will keep me safe. But that's not what keeps us safe. It's not trusting anyone. It's learning to trust yourself. It's learning to trust your own ability to cope with betrayal. It's learning to believe in your own ability to handle if someone lets you down, because betrayal is an inevitability, meaning it's going to happen. Everyone will betray you in some way, even your own children. Everyone will let you down because they're all human. They'll all let you down. But going around saying, well, I can't trust anyone, well, then you're not going to be able to get anywhere or get anything done, because trust is the currency of relationships. Without relationships, how can you succeed in life? You have to have relationships with other people, unless you're just planning to live the cabin in the woods life. Maybe that'll work. But if you're going to be out here in society on any level, you got to have some level of relationships with people, your neighbors, your grocer, your banker, right? There's going to be relationships. So to the extent that you need those relationships, you need to give people a little bit of trust. It's a currency, like money. I'm going to give you enough to get the job done. And when you recognize that you can dole out the currency a little at a time, then you don't have to say, I don't trust any grocers or an entire group of people. You're in control of your trust. But just because someone betrayed you, does that mean that you're not lovable? Just because someone betrayed you, does that mean that you can't be you know you're not safe? That does it mean that you deserved to be betrayed? No. Other people's actions are not your fault, because you don't have any power to control other people's actions. With no power, there's no responsibility. With no power, there's no responsibility. So if you can't control it, you're not responsible for it. If you can't control it, you're not responsible for it. So, no, when someone did the thing that was abusive or neglectful or abandoning of you, it did not reflect upon you. It was not your fault. Even if we're talking about what your mother did or your father did, it did not reflect upon you as a child. It was not your fault, because you didn't have the power to control their actions. You don't have the fault or the responsibility for what they did. On the other hand, some of us actually suffer from what I call gifted guilt. Gifted guilt is because you have gifts or you have survived. It's like survivor's guilt. You feel bad. It's like, oh my God, I feel so bad that I'm so smart or so beautiful or so talented. And you have something. And so you dim yourself around others so that you can be more likable. That's gifted guilt. It's like, oh God, I don't want them to realize or recognize how smart I am. So I'm just gonna act like I'm not that smart around other people. Or I feel embarrassed that I'm attractive, so I'm gonna hide that. But do we need to have guilt around our gifts? Even if there's something undeserved, like a beauty that you're born with? The answer is no. No. Your gifts are a reflection of the giver of the gift. So if you have something, let's say you have a lot of money and you didn't earn it, it was just an inheritance. There's no reason to be ashamed of your inheritance. There's no reason to be ashamed of what you have. Your job is to be the steward, the facilitator of this gift. So you must learn and decide how you will use it in a way that will help others. That's your job. How will I use this gift to help others, to benefit others, and also to benefit myself simultaneously? Because I love all people the same. I love others as I love myself, and myself as I love others. So that's your job. So is it true that the people that you like could never like you? Is it true that you're not an attractive enough guy to get an attractive girl? Is it true that you're not a a cool enough girl to get the attractive guys? Is it true that no one you love could ever truly love you? Let's examine that for a moment. And let's get to the truth of this. No one I love could actually love me back. Let's take that first group, the people that you would actually love. If we go in a romantic sense, would you fall in love with the majority of the men in the world, do you think? Or do you think you would fall in love with the minority of the men in the world? Right? Because we got to cut off all the ones that aren't the right age and all the ones that aren't the right, maybe height and certain things, right? So if you work on your list of qualifications, right? We talked about with vetting, we got a list of standards. So if you look at your list of standards, you got some pretty high standards when you get down to it. Reasonable, but high. So do you think the majority of men would meet your standards? Mm-mm. A majority of men aren't going to meet your standards. It's the same for you. If you're looking for a lady out there and you look at your standards, you think the majority of women are going to meet your standards? No, no. You have very specific things that you're looking for. You have very specific things that you're looking for. So it is the minority of people that could ever be loved by you. It is the minority of people that would even qualify to be in a relationship with you. Okay, you got that? Fix that in your mind. It's the minority. That's why we have to move through so many people to find the ones that would work with the vetting process, which is why I say do it at home in your pajamas via text. So you can just move through and like keep track of all these people that you're asking all these questions to, because you got to like get through the candidates quick. I don't want you to waste time and money on it. I want you to move through fast, because as you sift through, it's going to be the 1 in 100, the 1 in 200 that are even going to meet your standards. It's a small minority. It's a small group of people that you would even like. Okay, good. So let's look at that group of people and let's open that up. So out of this small group of people that you would like, are they all just automatically going to like you too? Not likely, because they have their standards as well. And that's okay, right? You want them to have their standards. So what you're looking for are the people who you happen to meet their standards and they happen to meet your standards simultaneously. You're looking for the people who would really be looking for you. Automatically, if we just take all the trauma and the emotionalism away from it, mathematically speaking, this is going to be the minority of the minority. So of the group of people that you would actually like, only a small piece of them will like you. So if you had to go through, I'm recommending you meet hundreds of people to get a nice sampling of the population that you actually like. Out of that sampling, only a small portion of that sampling will like you too. So the reason you're not finding these people is because you haven't met enough people and vetted enough people to begin with in the first place. You're talking about the two, three, four, or five guys that you liked. You're like, yeah, there were five guys that I liked and they didn't love me back. It's irrelevant. You need to move. The minority would like you. The minority would like you. So if we're talking about 10%, let's say, what's 10% of five? It's not even a whole person. You understand? So if 10% of the people you would like would actually like you understand you need at least 10 of these people to find one that likes you. So you need to get a bigger list, a bigger queue of people you actually like. Understand this is math. We're taking all the trauma, all the emotionalism out of it. You're not finding those people because you're not looking hard enough. You're giving up too soon. Does that make sense? You are giving up too soon. You're not even trying it, some of you. You haven't even tried. What you did is you found an abuser and you locked in on him because he wasn't available, because he wasn't emotionally there for you, and he's all the bad things that just feel comfortable for you. And you just keep staying with this guy who doesn't really fit. And then you kind of poke your head out every once in a while and look at the dating pool and go, it doesn't look good out there. And then you just stay right here. That's why you haven't found the people that you like and would like you. They're the minority of the minority. So you need more than five of these to even get a whole one. Am I making sense? So does that mean that there are guys, Roman, for the record? Are you saying that there are guys that would like me the way I like them? They would love me the way I love them? Yes. They will love me the way I am. Yes. Roman. Bro, are you trying to tell me that there are ladies out there who would be kind and loving and supportive of me and they would take me as I am? Yes. I'm trying to tell you that. It is a simple truth. But you must first believe that that's possible before you can even find them. But wait a second, if they're gonna love me as I am, then why do we improve? Why do we need to like grow and like progress? Like why am I trying to do any self improvement? Am I not supposed to be working on myself if they're just gonna take me as I am? The reason that you need to do self improvement, the reason why you need to grow, the reason why you need to glow up is not so that you're lovable. The reason you do the self work is so that you can improve the quality of your life and the offering that you have for others. The reason why you do the self work is not to become worthy of love. No. You're already worthy of love. The reason you do the self work is to improve your quality of life and have more to offer to others. That's why you do the self work. Does that make sense? So look down at your paper. What was the reason you wrote down that you're unlovable? I want you to keep that reason in mind and do this exercise with me. Come with me to the nursery on the other side of the world. And let's say you were taken there by the United Nations. And they say to you, we brought you here to this nursery because we just need you to identify for us a moral quandary. We would like to dedicate some of these children for experimentation and science, and likely they won't be able to survive the experiments that are going to be performed on them. So we just need the babies that aren't lovable, and we'll take them away. We don't want to take any lovable babies away. Okay, so we just need you to identify here the nurse of the babies sleeping peacefully in this nursery. Which ones are the unlovable ones? Go. And then they're looking at you. My question to you is, how would you identify which of the babies are unlovable? How would you identify which of the babies are unlovable? What's your answer? Well, look at these comments coming in. Impossible. All of them are lovable. All of them are lovable. Yeah. So then you say that to the people, and then they say, yeah, but on your page right there on your piece of paper, you wrote down a reason that a person could not be lovable. The reason why these babies are all lovable when they haven't accomplished anything, they haven't done anything, they haven't done their glow up, they haven't become strong providers or protectors, they're not supportive, they're not submissive, they're nothing, they have no good qualities. So why are they so lovable? It's because these babies are human children. They are born with their worth. They are born lovable. They are born worthy of love. That's why they're lovable. And guess what? When those babies turn two, do they lose that lovability? Do they lose that worthiness of love? No. When those babies turn three, do they lose that lovability, that worthiness of love? No. When those babies go into their first day of kindergarten, are they now unlovable? No. When they're six and they get into trouble outside and they're hitting and slapping each other, are they now unworthy of love? No. When those babies turn 10 and they're telling lies and they're cheating on homework, are they now unworthy of love? No. Why? Because when they got the worthiness of love at birth, it was permanent. It was intrinsic. It's attached to their soul. so that as long as they are alive and breathing, they are still worthy of love. And as they grow and as they go through life, they maintain their worth. The twist is that you are one of the babies in that nursery. You were born a human child. So you were born worthy of love. Just because you didn't meet the person that truly loved you, that you also loved, doesn't mean anything about you. It's a worthless fact. Well, I haven't met anyone that loved me. So what does that mean? That just means you need to meet more people. This means nothing. It's a worthless fact. It's worthless. It means nothing. You haven't met someone who loves you the way you love them? Yeah, because you're a loving person, and that's rare. Yeah, because the way you love is deep, and that's rare. Of course, you're not just going to walk down the street and just start tripping over people who are loving you the way you would love them. It just doesn't work that way. You're looking for the needle in the haystack, the minority of the minority. They're there, but you're going to have to search to find them. So if you want to stay single, cool, but don't you dare for a minute say it's because there's no good people out there or because I'm not worthy. No, 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 no. If you exist, then you are evidence of goodness in this universe. And it's not because there's no one that you like that will love you and like you back. No, 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 no. You're worthy. You have it all. You have it all. You are enough. You were born enough. And so, yeah, we make improvements to ourselves, but that's just to improve our quality of life and give us more to offer. Your worth stays the same. Before the degree, after degree, worth is the same. Before your business pops off, after your business pops off, worth is the same. Before plastic surgery, after plastic surgery, worth is the same. Can't become more lovable. You already were born with that. You can't become more worthy of love. So now, cross that thing out on your piece of paper because it's nonsense. It doesn't impact your worthiness of love. And focus here on out on loving yourself because somewhere along the way, maybe someone else didn't love you and you got the idea that you needed to believe that. So you love yourself. You believe in your own worth.